G'day guys, welcome to Ask Woodford. My name is Christian Woodford. Now, Ask Woodford is all about you. Yes, this is all about answering your questions as it pertains to training, athlete development, injury reduction, rehab, or even life. We want to help everyone, and that comes from coaches, athletes, to the general population trainer, whoever it is. We also want to thank our sponsor, macironfitness.com.au. Mac Iron Fitness is the premium supplier of all bands, rollers, and massage therapy balls for Woodford Sports Science Consulting. So sit back and enjoy the Ask Woodford show. Wait. 3, 2,
Episode 13, the WSSC podcast is back. Remember, if you love this, Woodford SSC on Instagram, Christian Woodford on YouTube, Woodford SSC on Spotify. Guys, we have the man today, Jay Ellis. If you haven't heard his name, you're stupid. Make sure you listen up today. This is the bomb, the best podcast. I've already said it now. The man is here. The two kings that have really developed the WSSC legacy,
well,
Jay
one king, but anyway.
and Woody. How are you? And then the queen. How are you guys?
What the hell? Listen, let me, before we begin, if you don't know Jay Ellis. Jay actually started at Woodford years ago when we call it the Tom Core era, the old Thomas Core era, and yeah, he's been really good. I've obviously been mates with Jay a long time. I thought I'd bring him on the podcast. Very smart, young, educated man, great coach. Good. He's a good combination of a scientist and coach, but actually knows what he's doing. Very applied and a great man all over. Always supported myself and Woodford. So welcome, Jay, to the podcast.
Happy to be here, Wood and Dirk. You know how much I love social media. It's really my sort of neck of the woods.
Yeah, not
a real mover and shaker.
Not someone you're going to see a lot on social media, for sure.
I know. When am I getting my blue tick?
That's fucking great.
All right, so let's talk about
the story. Just tell us the brief outline.
Dirk, hold on. I was answering the questions.
You give the question. We're so excited.
Well, I wish Brick was here because Brick. It's funny when Brick's involved with Jay. It's always funny.
Yeah, he's too big for his britches these days.
Yeah, he's done well.
I know you're going to watch this, Brick. So this is for you, baby. So talk about your career, Jay. Where you started from. People want to know this stuff. So yeah, tell us about how your career started. Where you went from. From where you started to where you are now.
To do that, I probably need to give away my age, unfortunately. It started probably about 2009.
Yeah.
Back in what's now the, I think it's called the Coates Talents League, which was formerly the TEC Cup before it became the NAB League and all that sort of stuff. So, I started there with the Western Jets, which I still fondly remember. I had some great days there initially as a placement student through VU, which then turned into a job. Spent 6 years there. And
6 years?
Yeah, initially all my background was through football. Primarily through football. Spent some time in amongst that. That was probably from about 2009 to 16. In that time frame, I spent 4 years at Vic Metro, which was the state development program for junior football.
Was that under 16s or 18s?
That was under 16s.
And did you ever go to 18s?
No.
No, just 16s.
Just 16s.
Okay. Yeah.
So
quickly, I've always wanted to know. I've never asked you this. How did you get that job?
It's a funny thing. I didn't actually want to be there when I got the job, so the circumstances were quite unique. But Victoria University just built a multi-million-dollar facility, which was to focus on exercise and sports science, which is one of their primary tertiary pathways as a university. And they just finished construction, and they were having all the dignitaries there. So the Minister for Sport, I think someone from the Bulldogs, the VIS, Melbourne Storm. Lots of sort of sporting bodies, Australian Sporting Commission, all those sort of people that invested funds into the facility, which is in the west of Melbourne, for those who are listening from outside of Melbourne. Big sports science university, and as part of my unit called Careers and Professional Development, which is, they're all a little bit of fluff, they said, part of your assessment is you have to show someone around who's donated money to the university to help build the facility. We had to show them around.
What? Wait, that was part of your assessment?
It was, yeah. So we had to suit up, heading there on a Saturday afternoon.
Wait, you suited up for that?
Why does it sound surprising?
Because it's VU. I went to VU. No one would have suited up at VU. I mean, I hardly rocked him with any clothes, really, but anyway.
Yeah. So we did, suited up, went in there on a Saturday afternoon, and the guy that I was supposed to show around was from the Australian Sporting Commission. Someone actually writes the checks and funds these things. Didn't show up, which is indicative of government, but we won't go into that one these days.
Let's not talk about that.
No one showed up.
No. He didn't show up.
He didn't show up. Yeah.
So your guy didn't show up.
So then, funnily enough, I got paired with the great Shane Sexton, who was the regional talent manager for the Western Jets. I spoken through what I wanted to do with my career, which at that point was quite broad. I wasn't quite sure specifically which path I wanted to head down between sports science, strength and conditioning, research.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, why don't you come down and do your placement here? And I said, yeah, great. I'd love to. And led on from there.
No. But I'm asking about the Vic Metro job.
The Vic Metro job was organised by a good friend of mine, Jamie Hepner, who every time I speak on podcasts and social media, which I don't do a lot of. So,
Never does it. Never.
I always forget and I feel horrible because he's been pretty pivotal in my career to date. So Jamie now works over at Catapult Sports in the US. At the time, he was in the head of Vic Metro strength and conditioning type role, head of athlete development. And we just got along. We met at a few different sort of courses and seminars and stuff. And he said, hey, there's been an opening with the under-16s job. Would you like it? And he pushed pretty heavily to get me involved with that next level of the talent development pathway. And yeah, things sort of flowed on from there. So I owe a lot of the, especially the early parts of my career to Jamie. He then was also instrumental in organising my internship at Collingwood, which I did for 2 years.
2 years.
And following on from that, he teed up a seasonal assistant role with me at NC State in college football, which I took up in 2016. And ultimately, that was the thing that directed me away from AFL and the junior football pathway for a little while. Again, Jamie, I wouldn't have made any of those leaps without him. And he teed up myself with a guy named Tim Brabus, who was the director of football performance at the time, and I believe one of the best coaches I've ever met. And yeah, then I sort of took my career abroad for about 6 months.
Yeah. I still remember you coming around to my house and telling me you want to go overseas and stuff like that, and you were kind of nervous to tell me. You were pretty nervous.
It was a bit like asking your future father-in-law for permission to marry her, and all of a sudden I'm please, is it okay, Wood? And
I was like,
I don't even know why I was asking your permission. I don't need your permission.
Yeah, I know,
but
you
anyway,
don't need to do, but
I'm just a polite guy.
No, but I didn't. I thought it was great. What's the first thing I said? Do it.
You did.
Go do it, because I did. I think it's great. And
going back to 2016, there wasn't a lot of people that did that. So I know that probably in the recent years, it's actually been quite a thing.
Big thing. Yeah.
Prior to that, you could probably count on one hand the number of Australians who'd gone into the college football sector. Matt Howley spent some time at Notre Dame and Florida State.
Matt Howley,
yourself,
myself, and Alex Hampton.
Yeah,
all three of us.
Yeah,
we did
probably
2012. I did mine.
Yeah,
and you did yours 4 years after 2016.
Yeah, so probably a handful of guys had done it. It seems a bit more commonplace now, but at the time it was a pretty big opportunity. And
you love it?
I loved it. I loved every single part of it.
You got jacked up while you were over there.
Yeah,
Jesus
big
Christ.
I remember the photos.
I did. I put on nearly 30 pounds over there and didn't shave for 4 or 5 months, and it was a bit of a grizzly bear looking dude.
Were you still with your girlfriend at the time?
I was. We don't need to go down that path.
No, you don't need to go down that path.
I certainly was.
I forgot if you're still with your ex still then. So
I was.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, between managing that and doing my masters abroad. And
how'd you find doing your masters abroad whilst doing that?
About as good as I found doing my masters. That's a whole.
That says it for itself, doesn't it?
I still remember. I'll bring you back to 2014. I still remember meeting Jay. Let me bring you back. Actually, I met you at a party. Now, if you knew me back then, you probably thought I was an absolute arsehole.
A party or a club?
No, I was at a party. Then we went to CQ afterwards, right? So Jay was there, right? And this dude comes up to me. He's like, "You're Christian Woodford." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I respect what you do." Blah blah blah.
I always look forward to the story being told because there are subtle changes every time I hear it. But continue on. We'll see how we go.
We'll see how we go. But anyway, this is what happened.
Can we get a fact check? Does this go on Twitter?
Does this go on Twitter fact check? No, but
we
anyway,
might get a fact check.
You came up to me. This is all I remember from it. I was having a big night. You came up to me. I'm like, "Yeah, cool, sweet. This skinny kid wants to talk to me. Whatever, cool." We went to see you.
Skinny and handsome. Let's just not leave it there.
So anyway, listen, I'm about to give you a compliment. If you just shut up, I'll give you a compliment here. Anyway, that's the first time I met you. Then we had a job opening, right? And I still remember. This is before the job opening. You came down with Steve or something to call, and I met you, and I still remember to this day you saying this to me. "Man, I respect what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do, and I love it." And you were the only guy at that time. The private sector was so small. No one was doing it. And you were the first guy in that system to really actually show me some respect and be like, "I see what you're trying to do. Well done. I appreciate it." And I was like, "Wow, this guy's really cool. I really appreciate it. No ego. You came down. You wanted to learn. I really respected that. And then when you came down for the interview, what we liked about you, me and Tom, was the fact that you said, "Listen, I know this quite well, but I don't know this well. But what I don't know, I want to learn." And that's why we hired you. Where the rest of them came in and tried to lie about everything, where Jay's like, "Look, I know this, but I want to learn this more." And also the reason why we hired you as well, you did have a really good background. No one knows this in sales.
Yes, I did. Yep.
What was that with?
Initially, out of university, was pretty adamant I was going to clear my HECS debt as early as possible. So, funnily enough, the Western Jets trained at Cross Reserve in Altona. So, I jumped on Seek and looked for jobs within close proximity to that, which is sort of the backwards way of doing things. I lived about an hour and 10 drive from there, but the Western Jets at the time were the best opportunity that I could get. So, I definitely took it and was really grateful for that. So, at that point in my career, I was looking for jobs to subsidise my strength and conditioning career because at that point it wasn't profitable.
Yeah.
It was just a passion, really a hobby that I got a little bit of reimbursement from and something that I really wanted to pursue. So, yeah, like a lot of people, I'm not certainly not on my own. I'm sure a lot of people in this line of work could attest to this, but, excuse me, yeah, you had to sort of find other ways of work. So for me, that was in sales, and just the proximity to the Western Jets at that point in time was really helpful because I could punch out at 5, be at training at 5:15 for a 5:30 start.
Yeah.
And yeah, then it sort of moved on from there.
I still remember you rocking up the you got to remember, I'm coming from when I started Woodford, I had no professionals whatsoever. Like, if you knew me back
when
then,
you started, or
well, in
general,
I'd walk in, I'd walk in off a bender and not care, be like, oh fuck, this guy's here, I better turn up now. Jay rocked in. I'm pretty sure I completely forgot he was going to be there. I think that's what he was. Anyway, Jay came down there looking professional, looking nice and neat.
What was he wearing?
A real nice. He actually looked scrubbed up all right. Actually, first time I saw him, because the first time I met him, I'm not going to lie, I was bent off my head. No surprises there. But then I met him the second time, and he was like presented real well. And what I like about Jay, I've always love about Jay, he's always honest. He doesn't lie to you, and he's just a good human being. As much as I give him shit, he is a good human. I've always got respect for Jay. I'll go into bat for Jay. He's very good at his job. I believe that he's probably in my opinion, he should be a high performance manager. If Jay wanted to be, and there was no politics, he'd be a high-performance manager in the AFL. Way too much politics. Jay doesn't like that. Jay lives off his 2 feet. He likes basketball now. So that's where you've gone, Jay. We'll talk about this in a sec. But I've always got respect for Jay. I always love him. He's like a brother to me. I've got so much respect for him. As much as I give him shit, I have so much respect for him and what he's done in his career. And to watch him grow, I really love it. And you deserve everything you've got coming your way, man. You do carry on, but I carry on too.
I carry on. Yeah. Wonder where I learned that.
But I think what you found now is your real passion. And Jay, one thing about Jay is what I've noticed. When I first met you, Jay, you weren't as what's the word for it? He wasn't as I told you this, Coon. He wasn't as what's the word for it? He wasn't as very
obnoxious?
Yeah, that's not it. Opinionated. When I first met Jay, he wasn't that opinionated. And then all of a sudden, I still remember someone saying to me, one of your friends said to me, ever since he's been around you, he's a lot more opinionated. As you've gotten older, you know what you like and what you don't. Well, let's be serious, Jay. You're pretty black and white with it, which is respect. But you know one thing I've respected about you? You haven't ever, and this is one thing young kids need to learn. We're going to talk about this, but young kids in S&C, they give up everything and they give up who they are as people. You've never done that. Do you want to quickly talk about that for the young coaches out there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well,
the do's and don'ts of being an S&C coach.
It's very important that we talk about this.
It is. I think it probably extends beyond strength and conditioning. I think that goes into success in whatever avenue you choose to pursue. Going back to when I first met you, I had a bit of a baptism of fire. You might not remember this. I came from primarily a sports science and rehab background. Wasn't a great practical coach in terms of technical ability, barbell lifts. I was quite raw. I was okay, fundamentally sound, but nothing more. And our former operations manager, Tom Core.
Yeah.
My interview process was actually, I'm not sure whether this will get to Tom, but Woody actually wrote on a little whiteboard, stuck it in the middle of the gym and goes, "This is your test for today." And I'm surprised he didn't do this for you. He's obviously moved on with these recruiting techniques. He said, you need to coach a power snatch, a snatch, a deadlift, a sumo deadlift, a front squat, a back squat, any hinge pattern, and then a clean and a power clean. I said, oh, yeah, okay. I'm not great. I'm somewhat confident with this, but we'll see where it leads. And he rolled out Tom Core, who does not have an athletic bone in his body.
Yeah, this is true.
And goes,
coach him.
Can you coach him? I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's fucking true.
I don't think God himself could coach him.
No,
but
that's
anyway,
true.
Sorry, Tom, if this gets
but that's true, though.
I was like, fuck, okay.
No, he did the best he could, and he got the job, so obviously did something right.
So, yeah, and you know what? I think that sums up the origins of Woodford as a business in that it's not about walking in and coaching a Olympic athlete or a Brownlow medalist. It's actually fundamentally you need to have the same passion and the same enthusiasm, and just the integrity of your sessions needs to be the same no matter who you're coaching. And I say the integrity because it's only nature to put a bit of a hierarchy in place of, celebrities and
favoritism.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Celebrities, athletes. But the average person these days, especially in this economy, it's a real privilege to coach them. Like, they save up, they probably work 3 or 4 hours to pay for a coaching session, maybe some online programming, and that's never lost on me. So you've really just got to deliver a high quality session no matter who it is. And that's fundamentally where Woodford started. That really drew me to the business, and that there were some high profile guys coming to the doors back then. But overall, it was just a mix of people. They were all treated the same. It was a bit of a sanctuary for people to go and be themselves and know more than yourself, act like a bit of a lunatic. But end of the day, the quality and the structure and the professionalism of the session was of paramount importance. And then things obviously grew from there.
Yeah. Fuck. That's pretty well said. I think that I appreciate that. I think what we want to talk about is young kids today who go into a system and they're willing to work for free consistently. Like, how did you, and this is a question I got from a young kid. So I'm mentoring this young kid right now, and I've told him about you. I tell all my students about you. Actually, Jay did a talk to Ollie and Jason and Jazz. I think was Jazz involved as well? I think so. Do you remember that? And they left it and they loved it. But
Did I? Okay, great.
You did. Yeah, you did. But no. But what they left is they couldn't get over how they love the fact you're honest, because they don't get that at uni.
Yeah.
How honest you are, Jay. But also what they loved is how you could navigate even like a professional sport or whatever it is, semi-pro sport, and you didn't lose your respect within yourself. Like, you didn't work stupid hours. You had boundaries. Can you just talk about how you set boundaries in this? Because you're at the stage of your career where you can demand things. It wasn't like that the whole time. What is the issue these days? Young kids aren't setting boundaries. How do you best set boundaries, you reckon?
Yeah, that's a good one. Demand is probably not necessarily the word I would use for it, but there's certainly a value that I attribute to my time.
Yep. Okay.
And yeah, it's a funny thing. I probably fall in the minority here. I know you're the same. I feel like there's a bit of a entitlement now that people feel like they're entitled to coach this and they're entitled to earn money and all the rest of it. So I think there's definitely a spectrum of where this sort of sits, and the needle should have moved from where it used to be when we went through and you had to work your ass off to earn $5,000 in a brown paper bag at the end of the year.
Yeah.
For 20 hours a week for 50 weeks a year, you had to do it.
Yeah.
Admittedly, that wasn't necessarily the best way, I believe, for the industry to grow forward. But by the same token, it's a big industry now. It's significantly larger than when we both entered it.
Yeah.
And just the entitlement of going, well, why should I work for free? It's like, well, you don't have to. You can go and pick up a job and stack shelves and be protected by fair work and all these sorts of things in a sort of corporate business. It's not about working for free. It's more about an opportunity to learn.
Wow.
And you're not always paid for opportunities to learn. In fact, conversely, when you're in the tertiary sector, you're paying significant amounts of money for your opportunity to learn.
Yeah.
Taking that away from the tertiary sector into the private sector or even the professional sporting sector, the thing that's lost on a lot of young coaches, and they won't see it till they get older, I certainly didn't because I've been through this pathway as well, so I hope I don't come across hypocritical here, is there's not a lot of reciprocal and mutual value in interns. That might be controversial, and I hope I don't offend anyone by saying that.
Snap this part. Get this part.
But if you're a big business or you're a professional sporting club or you're a private gym, there's an obligation for you to invest time into the development of interns.
Correct.
But conversely, there's got to be an element of the interns need to be able to contribute to the business, not necessarily equally, but certainly in a way that elevates the level of the program or the business or the sporting club which you're associated with.
Correct.
Now, en masse, I feel like a lot of it goes two ways. There's certainly organisations I've been in that have done a fantastic job, and there's also some interns that have done a fantastic job assisting me. Conversely, there's some that just sort of want to come in and go straight to the top, and they want money, they want responsibility, they want specific KPIs in their job, and they want a job at the end of it, which is totally acceptable. But end of the day, in anything, whether it's a personal relationship with your spouse or your partner, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's a coach and an athlete, at some point in time, there has to be mutual value that's worth exchanging.
Correct.
The power does not rest with interns or placement students.
It rests with the business
So
or the
way,
organisation.
Correct. So the way that needle can shift is obviously representation from our governing bodies, the ASCA, SR, et cetera, which is certainly in its infancy, but moving in the right direction for where it was. But at the end of the day, the responsibility and the onus is on you as the individual to say, well, what can I contribute to this organisation which they don't currently have? Now, it could be, well, if you know they're doing the same drill every single week and you know the cones are roughly in the same position.
Put the cones in.
It costs you nothing to use some independent thought and work autonomously and potentially go and mark those out so when someone else comes out, it's already set up. It costs you nothing that if a weight start at 8 o'clock, it doesn't cost you anything to be there at 7:45 and look at the program and go, okay, the guys have got box squats first. Do we have boxes available? Are the bars at the right height? All these sorts of things. Now, they're not things that occur to an intern to do to start with, and oftentimes it will take prompting. But
that's so true.
The generally successful ones that will progress their career understand that it's about offering something to the business which they don't currently have. And as a coach in the industry now, in the professional sector, time is such a valuable commodity, right? So if I have to go into the gym and lay out mini bands and yoga mats and dumbbells and all this sort of stuff, I can definitely do that, and I should do that. I'm not above that work. If someone can do that for me and it saves me time, I can allocate my time
other resources
to other things, which then elevates the level of the program. And what's pivotal to that success is someone helping me do that. And I've got some wonderful assistants now, as I have had over the past 2 or 3 years, that have really helped me along my journey. But it's a skill learning to intern. You know, it's a it's a skill learning to intern, and it's a real, I think there's a certain way to go about it that actually says, well, hey, I can add this to your program. Like when we first met, like you weren't well versed in sports science or rehabilitation protocols and that sort of thing. So you're like, well, Jay can contribute in this area. I'll bring him on board. So conversely, in an alternate universe, if I walked in and said, I'm just phenomenal, I'm a great coach, like bring me on board, pay me $50 an hour, give me AFL guys that come to the door and let me coach them because I've worked with AFL guys before. If I came in with that attitude, I'm not actually adding any value to your business that you can't currently do yourself. So why would you pay for that?
Correct.
Same thing. And one of the reasons I got to NC State and with Jamie's assistance was I was quite competent in Catapult and Excel and sports science.
That's why you got in, didn't you?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, like a lot of GPS analysis. Back then we didn't have open field. We had Sprint and very raw data, CSV files, like looked like the matrix with binary code, all sorts of stuff. But I had a good grounding in that sort of area. So when I'm walking into a Division 1 football program, I'm not going to be the best coach in there.
But
right. So I'm not going to be the best speed coach. I'm not going to be the best weightlifting coach. So what can I contribute to elevate my status in the organisation? It was, well, work hard, be on time, do the right thing, be professional, be willing to learn, but also on top of that, add my unique skills at which they don't have, which was in sports science.
Correct.
So, what was their level of sports science?
Reasonable, but not to the Australian level in terms of.
But conversely, their athlete development is miles ahead of our athlete development.
Strength and conditioning.
It is. Yeah. So, without going off on a tangent, which we are prone to do when we're in the same room.
Yes.
I think there's nothing actually wrong with working for free, and I think everyone sort of turns their nose up at it now and go, "Why should I work for free?"
Entitlement.
No one is making you. But of the 10 people that pass that opportunity up, there might be one young guy or girl out there who says, "Hey, you know what? I'll crawl over broken glass to do that. I'll keep my self-respect. I'll keep my dignity, but I'm willing to just put my ego to the side and learn in my own time in a way that's mutually beneficial to both parties." They'll progress.
Isn't there an issue though? I agree, and I love that idea. But as an industry, if you look at basic economics, supply overtakes demand. There's a lot of supply, a lot of students, not enough demand.
Sure.
The clubs, what they do is, if this dickhead doesn't take 40 grand, we're going to offer it to this guy who'll definitely take it. Should we unionise and say the only way we can improve is unionisation? In my opinion, I don't know what you think of that.
Yeah,
there's always going to be someone taking 40 grand, if you know what I mean. What I'm trying to say to you is, what would you say to those kids who people look at like 40 grand's better than nothing? I think that's what they think.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And I can see why, but in the long run, it's not going to help them.
It's not. But also, and this is part of a bigger opinion which I have. It's only a small part of it. But they're not going to pay you more than 40 grand if you don't have more than 40 grand worth of skills.
Skill set. Okay,
and if you have more than 40 grand worth of skill set, you're not going to apply for that job anyway. So it's sort of a moot point, right? The people applying for those $40,000 jobs, they're probably at some stage of the Dunning-Kruger effect where they think they're considerably better than they are, and they think they're entitled to an $85,000 job, which is consistent and secure and really safe with good perks. How they see themselves as a coach at that point in time when they apply will be either one or two things. Well, it's beneath me, but I'll take it anyway, or it's a heck of an opportunity to get my foot in the door. Yeah. And in either of those positions is totally fine. But the question I often ask people when this discussion around pay comes up, in every industry, you're always paid more to move elsewhere.
Correct.
Right? Whether it's a lawyer, a doctor, a builder, AFL. Yeah. If you're a player, the number of players get paid double the money to change clubs when the skill set doesn't change is phenomenal. Yeah. Right? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
So you're always worth more when you have leverage, right? And you're always worth more when you get paid to leave.
Yeah.
The only way you can create leverage to be paid more is to have a better skill set and be a far better coach than the alternative out there. Now, when it's a $40,000 job, you might not have a skill set that has that leverage, so you have to take it. Whether that's right or wrong is a different discussion. I think there's certainly an element of it's a chicken and the egg. If places invest more in their staff, they can spend more time working on one job and more time refining their skills and develop at a faster rate and progress faster and be a better asset to the program or the business in the private setting. But also, there's just this notion now that it's up to somebody else to change things. And it's really not. If you want more money, you need to be better at your job and you need to be willing to actually stand for something and say, well, this is what I think it's worth. If it's not, you have to be willing to walk away. Until you're willing to walk away, you don't really have any leverage.
Correct.
Until you have another job offer, you don't really have any leverage. Until you have a better skill set than the other people in the room, you don't really have any leverage. So we've got this massive pool of graduates, a massive pool of strength coaches who want to enter the industry. And I think it's phenomenal. I wish they would enter it because people go, oh, I wouldn't do it if I had my time again. I don't know what else I would do. Right? I have no idea. So I'm not special. I've certainly didn't get any handouts. Like when I went to uni, I caught the train there by myself. I didn't know anyone at the university and caught the train home and studied it and worked my way up like everyone else has. So to be in the position I am now, it's just a level of excellence that I demand of myself, but also willingness to say there's times that you will say, no, my time is worth more than that. I won't take that job. I've turned down more jobs than I've taken. So you have to be willing to do that, to walk away, to create leverage. But the second part of it is there's other times when you have to go, that's a heck of an opportunity. I'll take unders because what I'm going to gain from that has greater than a monetary value.
We'll give you leverage later on.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this. And then you can leverage that skill set later on to move to where you are. Now, unfortunately, that takes some time. And it might take you 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 years until you get your first crack at where you want to be. But if you've done the groundwork and you've set a strong foundation for yourself as a coach and you do have leverage, say, for example, you have your own PT business that's making money and you say, sorry, I can't do those extra hours. I've got my own thing. Or you say, well, actually, I got offered a job here. They've offered me X. Can you meet me halfway? Until you have leverage, it's not really up to the club to be like, oh, we'll pay an extra 30 grand just because we're nice people, because they're a business too, right? And ultimately, when you look at inflation, those sorts of things, you start throwing money around just aimlessly. It's like, well, the people that earn their money deserve it. And I often ask people this when they discuss the pay question, going back to what I was discussing before. If you name me any of the higher level coaches that you put on a pedestal and say, that's who I want to be, that's who I aspire to be, if you name all of them, I promise you they've all earned money. They all have. So money will find you in the long run if you're patient and if you're successful and if you have an attitude to be great. Money will find you. Like there's never been a high level strength coach, whether it's Mike Boyle, Joe DeFranco, some of my mentors, which I won't name, so I don't want to go into their finances, but actually I will. Nick Popovich, Tim Rabis, Jamie Hepner, Matthew Pell, yourself. you know, everyone that young kids look up to and go, that's the coach I want to be and that's the person I aspire to be, they all make money. So it's not like, oh, well, I'm going to be so great, I'm going to be so damn good that I'm going to bust my nut every single day for 20 years and I'm still not going to earn a cent. That's a total fallacy.
That's fallacy, yeah.
You will make the money eventually. You just have to be willing to delay the process in the hope that you can leverage up your skill sets later on. That's a long answer.
That's very well said. That's actually a very good answer. I'm not going to lie, that was a very good answer. Young kids going to get a lot out of this, especially one of my young kids I'm mentoring. But the question I love how you say that because you've got to have a skill set. But how many coaches, young coaches right now, and Jay, you can agree with this, do this. Undergrad, masters, try and get a job. What skill set are you getting? At least coach.
Yeah, correct. So that's where you're not really creating separation from the pack.
Correct.
And how you go about that doesn't have to be a hard skill. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm the best barbell coach, or I'm the best sports scientist, or I'm the best heart rate guy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a hard skill. Sometimes creating leverage and creating separation from the pack can just be a unsurpassed and really high level of professionalism. You're always on time. You're always in uniform. You always got a neat and tidy appearance. You always know one step ahead what's happening. Like I know your program. If I had to coach one of your athletes tomorrow because you moved to Thailand, I could probably do it blindfolded because I know what's going to happen in what order. Yep. And if I know that, I'm like, well, okay, he's done the RDL first. He's going to squat to box next. I know that's going to happen because you've done the same thing for 15 years, right?
Yeah, correct.
So if I'm a young coach and I'm sitting there like twiddling my thumbs looking at Snapchat or whatever I'm doing, but I'm not setting up a box with a mini band ready to go for the next exercise. It's like, well, you're not creating separation because you go, oh wow, I turned around and, little Bobby set my stuff up. That resonates with me. Like it was really helpful, saved me time.
Yeah.
Right. And it shows an eagerness to learn and also, a real desire to be great. So it doesn't have to, don't put the pressure on yourself to just be the best coach you can be because you're not going to be the best coach at 23 years old. But what you can contribute can either be a unique skill set or it can be a complementary skill set to what already exists, but in a very, very detailed, meticulous, professional way. And eventually, I do believe that success, whether it's recognition or monetary value, will find you if you pursue it the right way for long enough.
You know a quote, which you'll like this quote, Ellis. I got this from Tracy on my podcast. Be in a rush to be excellent, not successful. Yeah, it's a good quote. And I think what Jay's alluding to is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but just doing small things that that actually help out with the program and build that skill set. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, essentially it is. And everyone has their own way of going about that. Like the way that you would have created separation from the pack as a young Wood was just being neurotic.
Yeah.
Borderline OCD, just fully obsessed with what you were doing, which certainly wasn't me. That's not the way that I did that. But as you said before, I sort of pride myself on my ability to build relationships, but authentically, not just, let's be best mates because I can leverage off that partnership later on.
Yeah.
It's an authentic way of going about it, which I think is just a people-first approach. But that extends far beyond strength and conditioning. I like to think the relationships with my friends, my family, my former employers and my current employers and my whatever future employers I have, I still think fundamentally going about it that way will lead me to where I want to get to if I can also match that with a skill set to, derive pay or, contract, salary, whatever you want to put it, if you have something that can actually match that from the job.
Yeah.
End of the day, there's this sort of thing getting around in social media at the moment, and it's sort of, not been sitting right with me is that everyone goes, no one cares how good a coach you are. You have to be a good person first. It's like, well,
no.
Elements of that are true.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
But it's not all true, though.
But there's a lot of guys, if you want to work with Michael Jordan and you are an incredibly bad, horrible person, but you can get him where he wants to get to better than anybody else.
He'll work with you.
Without speaking on his behalf, because I don't know the guy. I'm sure Michael Jordan would still pay them. Right? Because he's like, well, I need to get from here to here. Now, being a good person will certainly help that process, and I'd recommend it, far better than the alternative. But you can't just go around being like, I washed his car for free and I bought him lunch that time and I asked him how his weekend was. I'm such a nice
But isn't that the issue? But hold on. Isn't that the issue in S&C right now? It's a bit of nepotism that it's like, he's a good bloke, jobs for the boys, we'll take him, he's a good bloke. Like, that's a big issue.
And as I said, it's not a and/or approach. Like they're not they're not mutually
Mutually exclusive. Yeah.
But you just can't hide behind the fact that I'm just going to be a wonderful person.
You
That's
have
fine.
to have a skill set.
Well, when I turn my back, can you coach a squat without injuring that guy's back? When I turn my back, do I know you're going to follow the program the way I've written it out because I need to pursue another task at the time? If I'm sick, can I trust what you're saying to my clients, my athletes behind my back to be in line with my values and what I'm trying to instill in them? If I can trust you to do that, then great. So there's certainly elements of both, but I just think there's no trade-off for high-quality, detailed level of coaching because it builds a level of trust and a level of respect with whoever you're working with, private sector, pro sector, young kids. Everyone's got their own way of connecting, but at the end of it, it's got to be authentic, which you've done incredibly well for a long time, like you are yourself, and you're not for everyone, and you know that. Admittedly, there's athletes that might not resonate with my style of coaching as well, and that's fine. I can definitely sort of meet them halfway where they need to get to. If they want to be pushed harder, or they want to be coddled a little bit more, or they want a bit more detail with their coaching, or they want me to shut the hell up, I can adapt to a certain extent.
But you're not going to change fully.
Yeah, you've got a certain bandwidth to work within while you still choose to be authentic. And when you step outside that bandwidth and start to try and be someone else, if I tried to be you, God help me.
Wouldn't work.
God help us all.
God help us all.
We don't need two woods.
We only need one wood.
Two woods.
Only wood's enough. One wood's enough.
I think one wood's enough for the universe. But if we scale it back to this business, but conversely, right?
I'm even having a kid soon, a boy soon. Second wood, Christian Woodford Jr. So
he's got a new girlfriend, Ellis.
I had a girlfriend.
I've heard.
I'm excited. Nicole and I are going very well. I want to have a kid soon, so I want to have a kid next year. Oh, well, a little Christian kid can sit here.
You look after it.
Oh, the kids can call you, hold you.
Kez will look after it.
All right, keep going, Jay.
No, that's plenty for me. What about you guys?
Okay,
We don't need to hear me talk.
No. Well, let's do the guest. I've got one more question for you. Okay, so you're working for United at the moment. Where, next 5 years, 10 years, do you want to go to NBA? Do you want to stay in basketball? What do you see yourself doing the next 5, 10 years?
I want to stay in basketball.
So you like basketball that much?
I love basketball, but also I love the environment I'm in, which it's always easy to say when you're there. So, yeah, but it just rings true. Like, it's always easy to say, oh, I love my job. But like, I fucking love my job. Apologies for swearing, but I love my job.
No,
like,
there's been a lot more swear words than that.
Fucking hell, yeah.
I'm surrounded by, from the top down, excellent leadership and administration and governance from the top. Mm-hmm. Ownership group down through CEO, management, office staff are just great people. I love rolling to work every day. I've got a great performance team around me, currently led by Steve McAdam, who's our physio, but he does a great job with the.
So what's your actual title?
My role is in head of strength and conditioning.
And what's his high performance?
He's high performance manager. He's also our physio.
So you've got
he's a great physio. I know that you've got your own opinions on physios, Wood, but that's because you haven't met some of the best ones.
No, I have. Jordan Radcliffe's one of the best I've ever worked with.
Jordan's a great physio. As much as I love Jordan, Steve would run rings around him. Like, Steve is a phenomenal physio, as is Nick and Chloe, our physio team. And even beyond that, I had dinner with him last night, Nick Popovich, who I did work with no longer. Smirch, our team manager, and even our coaches. Our coaches, at the end of the day, you need to have a certain working relationship with your coaches in that environment. I'm just lucky that I've got an excellent one with Dean and Reese and Chancey and Barlow. Like, we've got a really great, fun, vibrant group, and then you go down the athletes. I don't need to talk about the athletes. It sounds like I'm name dropping, but the guys that they're just led by are, CG, Joe, Daly's back this year, Newell's, like all the way through to the young guys. They're just a super group of dudes, and if I could freeze time right now, I really would. I mean, I hope we got to win a championship. Like, winning's fun. Nothing I enjoy more than winning, but yeah, man, I'm blessed. If I could freeze time, I would. Do I want to go to the NBA? I don't know. I don't know if the NBA's for me. I feel like it's a different environment. I want to be where I can make an impact. I don't know that I can make an impact on LeBron James. He's going to be LeBron James anyway.
I'm more talking about 5 to 10 years. Do you think you'll still be in the NBL, or you're not sure?
God, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to have for breakfast tomorrow. Yeah. I hope so. The NBL is a really exciting. It's at a really exciting part of its
development or
expansion.
Yeah.
Is that because you think the athletes here have a lot more room for improvement within that aspect?
When you say it like that sounds like it's a bit of a knock on them. I mean, everyone's got room for improvement, and I'm sure guys in the NBA have room for improvement, but sometimes in your strength and conditioning career or any career, whether it's whatever your job is, you'll probably find some place where you rock up and it feels right.
Yeah.
And you won't know that until you've been through a few places that feel wrong, which I've also done. I won't name them because it doesn't need it, but I've been in places that just didn't feel right, and I knew it. And United is the place that feels right. So yeah, right now I just like to be where my feet are. I think it's one of the problems with us collectively as coaches. Like, we're not very good at just being where our feet are, and you're always looking at, can I train the next level guy, or can I get from the NBL to the NBA? Can I work at the Olympics? Like, would I meet The Rock one day? Like all those sort of things.
Why the fuck would you want to meet The Rock?
I'd love to meet The Rock.
He's jacked as fuck.
I'd love
Fucking
to meet The Rock.
fake natty.
Now,
fake natty.
I got a great question that I actually genuinely...
Would you hang on? Sorry, Chris. Before we go into that, you tell me if The Rock
He's a fake natty. I have no respect for fake natties.
would, if The Rock. We're gonna need a hot take on this. Are you telling me if The Rock DM'd Woodford or went to the old website coachwoodford.com, the launch party at Eve was a real success?
Hell yeah, it was, baby.
If he contacted you, are you telling me you would say, sorry, I don't want to meet you, you're a fake natty?
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you're a fake natty, and I don't give a shit about you. How about for that? Me and you.
I'm not associated in any way with anything that's just been said. He's a childhood hero of mine.
He's a fake natty.
Why is he childhood hero?
I've had enough.
Natty.
This is
I don't like people who fake natties, and you're a fake
This is the
natty.
WWE
Mate,
days.
mate, you can put on all the qualms, how nice you are, and put all these quotes. You're a fake natty. You lost me at fake natty. If you weren't a fake natty and you didn't bag out Joe Rogan, I'd be sweet with you. He bagged out Joe Rogan.
Did he?
That's fine. Everyone can have their own opinion, Wood.
Well, he's a fake natty.
He's a 90s childhood icon. That is slander. We need to just nip that in the bud.
Well, he's a fake natty, and I don't like fake natties.
If he DMs you, you're coaching him.
Yeah, I am actually.
Let's be real.
But
What's
imagine training a guy who's on that much test. So good.
Well, hang on. Dirk, what's it like?
Yeah, it's great.
It's not, and just quickly, I want to bring this point up to everyone out there. From now on, it's not TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. I'm on TOT, testosterone optimization therapy. So from now on, I don't want to see any TRT in the comments. TOT. I'm a TOT guy. Now, quickly, before we end, because I've got 2 minutes before I go to my next client.
Wait. The biggest question, right?
Did you just yell at me?
Sorry. Now,
I like to see it.
I really want this question. I know you can answer it quick.
Jesus
Now,
Christ.
and I want you to be here for it too.
And Wood's not going to be on time for his next client anyway. So
Okay.
who are we kidding? We've got 5 minutes. Cares if we got 5?
We got 5.
We got 5.
All right.
He's not going to be on time.
Okay.
He hasn't been on time since 2012. It's not going to change now.
Let's go. Go.
So, Woody and Nick Popovich, two big people that have obviously...
Nick Popovich.
Oh, what a dog.
I know where the question's going.
What's the question?
No, that's not where I was going.
Fuck you, Jay.
That's not where...
Prick.
Hey, I love that, but that's not where I was going.
Nick Poppy. Yeah, I like Poppy. Good guy.
3 different things you've learnt from Woody.
That's a good
and
question.
3 different things you've learnt from Nick Pop that have kind of shaped your own system and structure.
That should be interesting.
Is that...
Come on with the heat 44 minutes in. Jeez, all
How
right.
do you think of that question?
I don't know, I was just excited.
Oh, but hold on. Why did you
It's all
say
that
Nick
test,
Popovich
Ellis.
straight away? What question do you think he was going to say? Who's better?
We'll talk about this question
Who's
after.
a better boss?
I thought we were going to go down who's got better pipes, and I was going to say Pop.
Oh, fair
without
enough.
a doubt.
Popovich is a big man.
He's a fucking unit.
He's a
Anyway,
moose.
I'm interested to hear. And also mobile as fuck.
Have you ever seen a moose? They're big.
Oh, he's a big unit. Oh, by the way,
When we cut this up, can we get a photo of a
Put
moose?
a photo of Moose.
Like a moose is a big animal.
can I send you also a photo of Jay Ellis when I first met him and we took the thing?
No, you can't.
And then the moose next to it.
I'm going to send you.
Send me a 2016 version. That was
no.
that was vintage.
We're going to send you the first photo of me and
No,
Jay.
we're
okay?
not.
Good
No, we're
shit.
not.
All right, okay,
Hit
go on.
me with this.
Okay, so 3 different things I've learnt from Wood.
Kieran, wait,
this-
film this.
There's probably more. Yeah, this is a tough one. There's probably more similarities than there are differences. But
That's fine.
if you want differences, what I've learnt from Woody is a lot of things. I'm buying myself some time here
He's
to try
buying
and think about
time.
the stuff I can say on camera. Sometimes you just have to back yourself in, which I learnt this from Christian far before anyone else. You have to back yourself in with your methods, and although he will rarely admit that he is, he's always willing to be wrong if it means putting his balls on the line, so to speak, and saying, that's how I'm going to do it, and I don't care what you're going to do. which ultimately leads to a lot of success for his athletes, because you can sort of sit there and hop and change methods between day to day, week to week, cycle to cycle, and in the effort to try and chase what's perfect, you actually lose oftentimes what's very good. So Christian has his ways of doing things. Some people like it, some people don't. But he's just like, well, that's how I'm doing it. And at the end of it, when you revert it back to principles, does he progressively overload things? Yes. Does he make sure there's elements of specificity? Does he make sure there's elements of intensity, volume, duration, intensity, frequency, all those sorts of things which we revert back to? Christian's very good at moderating those principles. So I learned that from Christian very early on, and it gave me the confidence and the structure that I see programs right now from people that have gone through Woodford's web over the years. I was like, I know that's come from Woodford because there's an explosive movement. Then there's a lower body hinge. And if there's a lower body hinge, there'll be an upper body push. And if there's an upper body push, then there'll be a unilateral like quad dominant movement.
Or hip dominant, yeah.
Then there'll be some auxiliary movement. Then there'll be some core work at the end. And then if there's conditioning afterwards, I'm like, yeah, God, I've seen that structure before. You know, like, and then I see the blueprint of what Christian put in place early, and I think that's one of the best things as a young coach to take from there. You're not going to like this, Wood, but I think the things I've also learned from you is actually what not to do. You know, like you've had some pretty chaotic parts of your business and your life, which I know you've spoken about freely. But selfishly, that's been really beneficial. Like I've learned what not to do, and
but I've always said that
I've learned from the mistakes you've made. Like the mistakes you made actually set a really good pathway for other people not to follow them.
No, I do. I agree
in terms of you know, what does work for business, what doesn't work, and you're still carving out your own thing from that way as well. And finally, one of the things I learned from Wood, and this is probably a same thing with Pop, is you just have to love it, because there's times when it gets tough, and there's early mornings, there's late nights. For me, there's a lot of travel, there's a lot of time away from my partner, and there's just lots of things if you don't love it, it'll eat you up. And they share that in common. So going back to Pop, I love Pop. We actually had dinner last night, which was really good fun. It was good to see him like old times. He's 50. I won't give exact age away. He's in his 50s. He's in his 50s.
Unbelievable.
We've gone through this.
Moose.
He's just a big guy. He's a moose.
Does he train every day, Joe?
And that's where I was going to lead to. In that, no matter what happens in his life, looking after himself is first and foremost where he will always start his day. And I think we can both admit we've made that mistake in the past. Like we've let our own training slip, we've let our own diet slip, and then ultimately whoever we're working with then bears the brunt of that. And watching him lead his life by example,
unbelievable,
is it's inspiring in a way, and it's something which I definitely want to get better at. And I've learnt that from Pop. But also, I had a bit of a joke about this with Pop, and it sort of rings true. Is that you have to just be where your feet are and really enjoy it, because you're not guaranteed anything in the future. You know, you're not guaranteed the next job. You're not guaranteed to move to the next level. So when it comes back to, well, do you want to go to the NBA? Do you want to do this? Like, publicly, I'd love to work with the Boomers one day and go win an Olympics and beat Team USA in a gold medal match. Like that would be phenomenal. You know, I think
didn't Pop work for the Boomers?
He did. Yeah, he did. Yep. And you know, there's certain elements of what you've done with your life, Woody, and what Pop's done that I definitely would like to replicate, but in my own way. But also with Pop, it's just about in professional sport, there has to be an element of that's willing to be disliked in order to do your job effectively. Because there'll be times when you have to tell people, this is what's best for you, or this is what's best for the team. We're going to do this, and there will be bite back. And it takes a certain level of courage and a certain level of just real, bravery, courage, and
conviction.
Just being resolute in your values that say, well, we're going to do this. And the blowback might be someone turns around and lays into you. And it doesn't happen a lot in the private sector. It's a lot more of a two-way deal in the private sector. In professional sport, there might be times when you have to do things that aren't necessarily popular, but I won't go into why this manifested in a different way, but Pop has always had a thing of doing what's right, not always doing what's popular. And I won't elaborate on that because it's a personal thing for him, but in every aspect of his life, he leads that with his athletes and with his relationships with people, and even how he views society as a whole. He's very, very resolute in doing what's right, not just doing what everyone feels is what needs to be done.
Not being a sheep.
So Yeah, I think that's really important, and it's been between, as I said, I've got my own Mount Rushmore of coaches in a way. Everyone sort of fits in there differently, but yeah, between Wood, Pop, Matthew Pell, Jamie Hepner, Tim Rabis, I've got my 5 guys. If I could be 20% of each of them, maybe 10% of Wood, and I'll allocate 2% to everyone else. If I could replicate some of what they've done in my life, I'd be very happy.
That's amazing.
That's great. Yeah, good.
That's awesome.
I think that I've been
It's beautiful.
been a long time, man. It's sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
We could edit it, mate. We'll give it a minute.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I just to hear all that shit, and I've been through a lot in my life, and I appreciate everything you've done for me, Jay, and you're a great guy, and I don't know, just hearing a lot of shit back from emotions that I haven't really remembered for a long time, and
yeah, they're the ones that we do remember. There's probably a few Saturday nights that we
I think that
we don't. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay, you're a great guy. I mean, I just think this is a really good podcast, and I was just hearing you talk. Just it just I don't know, just brings back emotion to me in a good way, not a bad way, a good way, to show that you can do it the right way. A lot of people don't do it the right way, Jay. You've always done, and you've always tried to help people along the way, Jay.
Well, I don't. I appreciate that. I don't know if it's right. That's not for me to judge. I've just done it the way that I'm comfortable being myself, and
I'll just never forget. I told Kieran this morning, as much as you fucking annoy me sometimes, Jay.
I annoy you.
Yeah. Just let me finish.
I should play some of your voicemails back because I've kept them. But anyway, we'll save that.
I still remember, and I can't ever forget this. I talk to my psychologist about this all the time. Like, I'm the guy that I'm working with, my mentor at the moment, and he talks about loyalty with friends and the group that you want and the good people you want. I still remember at the time when I met you, I was struggling because I had all these people against me, and they were in my industry, like they were undergrads, and you were the only one to come in. And when I say the only one, there were other people, but Jay, you were the first one to really be like, no, man, I see what you're doing. I fucking love it. I want to be a part of this. Like, can I be a part of it? And you were the first one to actually support me. And it wasn't cool back then to support me. Like, it wasn't cool there was kind of private versus this thing, and Woodford's too out there and you can't support him. You're the first one to support me compared to everyone else who would like just backhand me. And because they were insecure, and no one was doing it. Now everyone motherfuckers doing it in the private sector. But back then no one was doing it. And then you were the first one to stand by me and be like, this is real cool what you're doing. I love it. I see what you're trying to do. And I will never, ever, 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 ever in my life forget what you did back then. Ever. You stood for what you stood up for me. Not that I wanted support. It was more I just wanted someone to be like, hey man, I see what you're doing. And you were like outside the private sector in semi-pro junior elite sport, and you're like, yeah, I like what you're doing. So for me, it was like, I'll never forget that moment in my life, because I'm like, holy fuck, there are people out there. Because at the time I was coming back, and these days no one comes after me these days. Everyone shows me love, which is fucking weird, a crazy weird.
It's really you going after them. You've got your sort of
these days I go after me.
Targets.
But I'm still a human being, and then I still remember you coming, and I still remember saying to myself, I'll never forget that day that kid came down and did that. And I want to say to you right now on camera, thank you for that moment in my life, because it was a very important moment in my life, because I needed someone, not saying that you were the main catalyst, but just to hear you say that helped me immensely at the time. And then to watch our friendship go, and you help me and watch you go, and what you've done has been fantastic. And I always say to people, I've always said, as much as this pains me to say, Jay Ellis is one of the best, if not the best in the world at what he does, what you do best. Sports science, strength conditioning together. Like you most admit, you're not great at all of it. You're just good at the whole lot of it. I admit that to everyone. I say he's not very, very good at sports science, very good, but very good at everything. You're like holistic. Where me, I'm very good at one thing and I struggle on these other things. Not I struggle, but I don't know them as well. You can admit that. Where I believe that you're one of the best at doing that. And also, one good thing you've developed, Jay, better than anyone, is your people management skills is really good, because you can talk to everyone. Where my thing is, I've got a certain amount of people I just can't be fucked with it. Where you're very good at that. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it reminds me of back when, the reason why I got emotional for everyone out there is because we're going to put this photo up, me and him. We won't like it. I don't give a fuck. We'll put up a photo, but it doesn't matter. It just shows.
I know the one.
You know the one, right? And we're going to put this up, right? But that day was the day when I met him properly, and he told me that. And it meant a fucking lot to me because at the time, I was like, what? I was always, I had various teachers, I knew what I was going to do and where I wanted to go, but it was just kind of good to hear it from someone else. And he got behind me. And I'll never forget that. So thanks very much. And I know I get emotional because it meant a lot to me then, and it means a lot to me now that you're still here and friends with me. So
no worries, mate. Thank you. And it's fun. One of the things I think we also, which people may or may not realize, is that we've disagreed on far more things than we've agreed on.
Yeah.
Over the time. We've got a very different approach to people. We've got a different approach to business, thank God, Kez. We've got a different approach to coaching. You know, like there's elements of what we do that work hand in hand, but there's also, we've got a different way of representing ourselves publicly.
Yeah, correct.
And I think what I brought to you is probably matches what you brought to me. Was we were just really, really different. But we're on the same sort of journey in our own little ways, but like it hasn't always been great. Like we've sat there and yelled at each other as much as anyone has, and there's been, God, I could not show that many screenshots of you in my phone. We've taken a screenshot of something you've said or a post you've written or a video you've done, and I've just sent it to the boys, being, what the fuck is this guy doing? I'm like, thank God I don't work there. I cannot associate with this idiot. Like I can't put my name to that. Like, that would have happened millions of times over the years. But the key thing is, I always tell you how I feel about you, right or wrong. You know, I've told you, like, you don't need to pick a fight with that guy. You don't need to post that, and you'd be like, shut the fuck up.
I'm going to do it anyway.
But again, and that's your prerogative to do so. But I think one of the things, mate, we've always agreed on is that, like, you know, we'll have a chat about things. You're a total cowboy. You'll do things your own way, and I'm not going to change that. But if I stop to make you question things once or twice, I'd hang my hat on that one.
No. I don't listen to many people, I'm not going to lie, but I will listen to you. But at the same time, I'm always going to be me. This is how I'm going to do it. People either like it or don't. Sometimes I do need my head kicked in, sometimes being like, you're an idiot, but I will apologise. We all do. But at the end of the day, I'm a good person. You know that. And regardless of how I act like sometimes, I know you love it deep down, especially when you send it to Corey Maynard. Good old Corey Maynard, I love him. But sometimes I say stupid things, and I do listen to a few people, and Kieran can attest this. I only listen to a few people, and you're one of them. Where I actually be like, if you told me something, I wouldn't tell you to fuck off. I'd be like,
you would.
But I would actually listen.
But then he'd absorb it.
He would.
No, but I would listen. No, there's a difference.
It's an instinct.
Anyway, I appreciate you still being in my life, Jay. Coming around full circle. Thank you for coming on this podcast, episode 13. As always, Jay, Chris DeCranis, do you want to wrap this up?
Do you want to give them my social media tags where they won't find me? Anywhere?
Oh, can I say one thing before we wrap up? Jay Ellis is perfect. So what he does, he's got his profile on private, and it's hilarious. When people try and add him, he'll message me, "Well, who the fuck is this? Who the fuck is? I don't fucking Jay.
I've been found out.
He's been found out.
He's trying to find you.
I just look at who they follow, and it's like Jeremy Bozzillo, Coach Woodford, Chris DeCranis. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Add me on LinkedIn or Twitter or something.
Yeah, I love that. I love it.
All right, wrap it up. I've had enough.
That awesome, guys. Remember, if you want to see more of this, if you want to get on the social media, do not follow Jay. Let's just follow Woodford SSC on Instagram.
He posts nothing anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter.
It's just him playing golf. Don't worry.
Which golf culture?
True.
Fucking hell,
guys. Woodford SSC on Instagram, Christian Woodford on YouTube, and Woodford SSC on Spotify. See you next time.
See ya. Thanks, guys.